everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, Love for Intuitive Astrology. My name is Michelle and today I will talk about stelliums in each and every single house and also the sign. So you can check your house where it is in your chart and also the sign. So for example, I would say first house and Aries. So if you have, for example, in your chart, third house, Leo, you can check the third house and the sign of Leo, right? And fifth house rules Leo. So like this, you can make a little puzzle because of course this is a general reading, but I really want to help you understand astrology a little bit better. So what is a stellium? This is literally 3 or more planets in your chart that are in conjunction with each other, and they're putting a lot of focus in a certain area of your life. Okay, it depends on how many planets and also which planets are in that certain sign or that certain house. Okay, so they can be spread over several houses in one sign. This is a stellium, or they could be in one house. A different sign is still a stellium, right? In conjunction with each other. Still, if they are not in conjunction, there is a huge focus and I would say almost obsession or uncomfortable feeling in a certain area of your life, right? So it's like you're either embracing the energy or you're feeling like quite uncomfortable with the energy. It's so overwhelming, there's so much focus on it that you're like, oh, this feels like literally uncomfortable. So yeah, it can go certain ways when it comes to, when it comes to the planets. So also you can check what planets are together in a stellium. So when you have a conjunction in your chart in general, it means that one planet cannot live without the other. So they are kind of forming a union, right? So for example, if you have a combust, which is like Sun and Mercury, like usually the Sun is who we are, and then Mercury is how we communicate, how we think, our thought process. So if these planets kind of overlap each other, that means that the way you think is the way you are. So the way you are is directly coming out of your mouth, It's like you will not think first and then speak. You would speak because it's you and communication at the same, they're having a union with each other. So this is literally happening with the stellium, and you can apply this to any planet. But imagine if you have 4 planets together in a conjunction, they cannot live one without the other. So they are kind of intertwined and their energies are coming together. So you will have all these influences in one, right? And the degree to which the stellium is difficult depends on the planet. So if you have all the positive planets together, like Jupiter, Venus, the Sun, the Moon, that's fine, right? Still, you would, for example, apply on a new moon, you would have, your emotions and who you are kind of like, you would have more shadow over your emotions. So you don't necessarily can grasp them as a separate entity. So observe the emotions. So yeah, it really depends. And if you have Pluto, for example, or Saturn or Chiron, for example, if you have your moon with Chiron, that means that you relate pain to your emotions. So what can you do? You either going to heal and dive into your emotions, or you're going to completely ignore them because you relate them to pain. So I hope this explanation gives you a better understanding what is happening when there's a stellium, because this is just a conjunction. But imagine 3 planets together. If you have your I don't know, if there's Venus applied to it as well, it means Chiron with your emotions and Venus. So your emotions are attached to love, how you deal with money, but you see emotions as pain. So, Chiron is the wounded healer. So you can either heal that part of yourself. So if you heal your emotions, you heal your relationships. They're all intertwined. So it comes together as one. So, you know, it's not bad, it's not good. It's just a really good tool to understand why you're making certain decisions or why you're doing something. And people sometimes tend to not understand people with a stellium because you're either all in or you're all out because it's overwhelming, right? So let's start with the first house. So if you have a stellium in Aries or in the first house, this means that, you know, Aries is the sign who goes head first, who is going first out there. You know, it's the sign of the leadership, the one who takes the first steps. So if you have a stellium there, you might overly focus on self-development, like always diving deeper and getting to know yourself better. But it could also mean that, you know, you feel very uncomfortable with yourself. You feel like you kind of want to not see yourself at all, but it's like life is forcing you to do so. So you have on one hand someone who could be maybe more self-centered, right? But it could also be someone that's like avoiding it altogether, especially if you have Saturn in your conjunctions, right? That feels heavy. You don't want to face that part of yourself, so you're gonna be forced into it. So it could be that you're in a relationship, but it's kind of pushing you to be more of an individual. So your partners might leave you, and you know, you have to rely on yourself. So it's really, it can be in one or another extreme, because kind of a stellium acts as extremes. It could be an insane obsession of, like I said, self-development, always working on yourself, which is actually the focus you're supposed to have in this life. But for other people, that might look like you're self-centered or focused on yourself, okay? So you can balance out, if you're too much in your own self-development, you can balance that out by learning from other people, okay? So you can go to your 7th house, one-to-one relationships, and you can learn about yourself through other people. And this is how you can balance your stelliums out, right? So this is also has to do with leadership skills. You're either doubting yourself to be a leader, right? Or you're only seeing yourself as the only person with an opinion. So try to find the balance in both, and you can learn about yourself through other people. And then you don't have to struggle in the relationships, because you're kind of balancing the energies out, like being your own individual, while also being open to other people's opinions, okay? So this is a way how this can alter itself in the first house. And then we have the 2nd house, right, which is related to Taurus. And Taurus is ruled by Venus, which is money, self-worth. You're going on possessions, but when you have so many planets there, you're probably like either sitting on your money, obsessed with money, counting your money, frustrated by money. It's like, I want to earn more money, but you're so focused on it that you're losing track of how to earn money, right? So there's an over focus on making money, and that's when money is not coming. So it's really about balancing the way you see yourself and perceive yourself, right? So you can overvalue yourself or undervalue yourself, and always be frustrated why money is not coming or materials are not happening for you. So this is where you can kind of put in motion giving and receiving, so you have a more natural flow. Definitely also receiving. So the opposite sign is the 8th house, which is other people's money, and taking into account that you deserve money and you deserve to receive it, you know? So it's either one of the end. You're either not spending enough, and that's why you're not earning. So you gotta find this natural flow of how to make money. And, you know, if you always earn too little and become very frustrated by it, look at your self-worth and how you're feeling and what is your relationship with money, right? So you can do a lot of meditations and healings and affirmations when it comes to making money and how to have, yeah, not obsess about it or leave it all together so you don't have to face it. You know, find your balance, even though it's hard, because that's what a stellium is for. You cannot escape it. So, you know, if you have a different, like, check your other sign, because for example, if you would have second house stellium in Cancer, Cancer has to do with the past and with a home situation. So it could be that you lose money due to a home situation or gain money through housing. So check the sign where it's in, so you can make easier money, or where you pay attention to where you could lose or gain money. So yeah, that's it for the second house. And then we have the third house. If you have so many planets in your third house, you're probably going to be mentally extremely active. You're going to be thinking a lot. You're going to have so many ideas that you're not really sure where to start. So you want to study a lot of things, and you're like, I want to do this and that and that. And then you might get stuck into all the ideas you have. So my recommendation to you is writing down all the ideas and taking action one by one. So you wrote them down, you had an idea, and like go to that idea, because it might be that you know, people in work might ask you for a solution, and you're like, oh this, and then that, and then that, and then there's so much happening in your head and in your brain that you cannot explain yourself in one sentence, right? Like third house is communication. So it's like, I have so many ideas that I don't know how to communicate it to the world. And it's related to Gemini, right? So this is also, if you have a stellium in Gemini, it's like ideas coming like this. You can see different sides, you can understand where everybody's coming from, but where does that leave you? Okay, so taking it step by step and really writing down all your ideas so you can come back to it later. Also, third house is siblings, right? And also transport. So be careful with your transport. Make sure to check up your car, your laptop, your electronics. Make sure they are working well, especially if you have also third house in another air sign like Aquarius. Yeah, and also the siblings, right? So there might be an obsession with the sibling. If it's in Libra, you can think, oh, they are married and it's not going well, and you want to get involved into their married life. So yeah, my recommendation is to leave it or write it down, right? If there's something, or you feel this obsession with learning something and you cannot let go, try to meditate and let the energies flow and write like the best recommendation I can give you is to do journaling or write things down. And if you have so many ideas, maybe you should start a blog and write everything down so other people can learn from your ideas. And you know, you can make money by writing down all the ideas you have and helping other people. So I am not an astrologer that's like negative, oh, stellium, it's not going to work, this and that. I always want to look for solutions, because solutions is helping people, and you know, just pointing out what's not working is not a solution, right? So that's why I'm an intuitive astrologer, because I want to use the self-consciousness with the tool of astrology. So yeah, that's it for the third house. Let's go to the fourth house. So if we have a stellium in the fourth house, like the fourth house is your roots, it's your past, it's ruled by Cancer. It's about nurturing, right? So it could be if you had a lot of harsh planets in the fourth house, like Saturn and Pluto, you missed your stability and your nurturing. You probably had really cold parents, right? So depending on the sign it is in, Cancer is the mother, but if you have it in Capricorn, this is very often related to the father, okay? If you have Leo, for example, they might not really appreciate you for your qualities, for your uniqueness, so they always talk you down. If you have a lot of good planets like Jupiter, Venus, these kind of planets in a stellium, you would be a great real estate agent, investing in real estate, selling real estate. You could definitely make money and make it your career, right? So it really depends which planets are in conjunction with each other. So check that out. But if it's cold planets, it's really shaking up your stability. And if you have too many good planets, it could also be that your family like really self-indulged, right? They give you so much. And this is another extreme, right? Where you get so much that you're not becoming the best version of yourself either. So they either sold you short or they gave you too much, which kind of sticks, like you look back into the past. That's why it's related to Cancer, right? Like Cancer is very often very fixated on the past. This is your upbringing, and your upbringing is having a lot to do with how you become later in life. So if you have a lot of planets here, I recommend you to do like past life regression, ancestral healing. Like a lot of patterns come from ancestors. Sorry, my nose is getting closed when I talk too much. So yeah, so really do rituals for your ancestral line, light a candle for them, appreciate them, because you are very often took some kind of karma from your ancestors, okay? And you don't want to get angry about it, because you want to respect your ancestors and really try to heal it so you can move on, okay? It's also about your stability. So it's like you're either super focused on work or always at home. It's like there's not really a balance between both, right? So if you're always inside, maybe it's time to go out there, like the 10th house. So there's different possibilities when it comes to the 4th house, but it's really all about healing your past and living in the present, because you're healing your past. So don't obsess about your parents and what they did to you, but heal it, give it a place, and see it as part of you, and it makes you the person you are today. So you would also be a good therapist for children, like trauma healing, right? You could really help people with their past as well. So there is always a strength in whatever happens in your life, okay? Like I have Pluto on the ascendant, which obviously brings me a lot of old karma from my ancestral line. And you know, when I was younger, I always saw it as a curse, like always bad things happening to me. But now I see that all this wisdom I can share with the world now. I had to go through it myself, and it was tough, but now I am like, it's like a natural therapist. And this is why, you know, astrology and healing, it's part of who I am now. And if I didn't have my past, I could have never started this YouTube channel. I wouldn't have become the person I am today. So really embrace it and find your stability, okay? Not too much of this or too much of that. Like try to balance it out. So that's a stellium in the 4th house. Let's move on to the 5th house. And when we think about the 5th house, we're thinking about children, right? Romance. There could be an obsession with, for example, romance, like very focused on feeling loved, having love. Also very focused on always being busy or not doing anything at all, depending on the planets you have. You could be very involved with children, your own children or other children. And you know, the only thing I want to tell you is not to mingle in your children's life too much. And if you're a teacher, not to mingle in their lives too much, okay? Because you are kind of like this motherly, fatherly figure. But if you get too involved, that's not your place anymore. That's when you're going into the obsessive side of this stellium. It could also mean that you don't want to have children at all, especially when you have heavy planets like Saturn. You might be like, hey, I don't want to have children. Like, I feel uncomfortable having children. That this is very often related to your own parents that maybe didn't want to have children and they had you, and it's like you kind of feel that up to now. And you learn that you need to get attention through the wrong ways, right? And this is how the 5th house is looking for romance. Like you're looking for something that maybe you missed in your childhood. So this house, I can recommend you to really dive into your own creativity, right? With the stellium here, you can be very creative and you can create very beautiful things and be very nice to yourself. You know, it rules Leo, and Leo needs to know what makes them unique and what makes them special, what makes them beautiful. So give yourself a lot of confidence, work on your unique skills. Because some of you might think that you are not creative, you don't feel like you have any talent. So I would say do some affirmations to really boost your life into more love, more happiness, and enjoy, right? Like this is also the house of gambling. So a lot of gambling addicts would have Pluto or like heavy planets in the 5th house. So be careful with what kind of investments you're making, and also not to be overly optimistic. It could be either or, right? You either don't want to go outside or have fun with your friends or like enjoy life, or you're doing too much. It's like either or, okay? So yeah, see what resonates with you. What I can recommend to you is to really embrace your qualities, create beautiful things, no matter what your hobby is. You know, we all have creative expression in our own way. So find your own, and you will stop, you'll feel that you will stop mingling in children's life or other people's lives, which will help you tremendously, okay? Because like very often the astrologer is having so many negative messages like, oh, you're gonna be doomed when this happens or doomed when that happens. I don't like that. I like to make our weakness our strength, because in reality we are here on earth because we have something beautiful to offer. So don't forget, and don't give yourself short. That's my recommendation for you. So that was it for the 5th house. I'm ready to move on to the 6th house. So when we have a lot of planets in the 6th house, so a stellium, you have a lot of Virgo-like qualities. It's ruled by Virgo as well. And a very funny thing is that if you have a sun in, for example, Sagittarius, and you have a stellium in the 6th house, you will still act a lot like a Virgo, right? So people here are very perfectionistic, want to get things done perfectly, okay? We see a lot of nurses with these stelliums. I've seen it with my clients that have that. They're very nurturing, very caring, but very hard on themselves. Extremely hard on themselves, hard on their weight. Maybe they're very strict on it with their diet. It's always good to do a lot of checkups, you know, when it comes to your health. You know, check your health. How are you doing? How are you feeling? It's routines. So either you're super strict with routines, or you're like, you cannot even get out of bed. So it's kind of this kind of extreme. Or you have like times when you're doing a lot of gym activities, and then suddenly you feel so overwhelmed by this intensity of the gym. So you're a person that either very muscular, or then stop working out because it's been too overwhelming, and then you like suddenly lose weight, you lose your muscles, or you gain weight, and then, you know, so there is a kind of an extreme when it comes to your body. We see people that are experimenting with food, you know, like trying different things, and this is because there can be some kind of obsession almost with health and food. You could be working with animals, right? So my recommendation for you is to really rest, because a lot of mental activity is happening and you could end up having a burnout. So go to your 12th house, the opposite sign, and rest, meditate, relax. And this is how you can balance out this energy of the 6th house in order not to overdo it. So that's my recommendation for you, people with 6th house stellium. And now we go to the 7th house, which is ruled by Libra. And it's all about relationships, right? So you think, oh, if I have a stellium in the 7th house, I'm going to attract a lot of relationships. This might be true, depending on the planets you have there. It could be that you cannot be alone at all, but it could also be that relationships become so overwhelming that you're actually avoiding being in a relationship, or you switch partners a lot because you're with someone and then it's like this intensity is building up and you're like, oof, I feel like it's too much for me. So you should go to your 1st house and really focus on you as an individual and really take time by yourself. You can also learn a lot through relationships, okay? But at the moment you're feeling intense, it's time to be by yourself for a while. And if you explain it to your partner, they might really understand you a bit better. Because relationships might feel like you always want them, but then when you're in them, it's like, ooh, I don't know, and depending on the planets there, you might also give yourself away completely, like give all your energies to the 7th house person, to your partner, and you're like, stop forgetting who you are. So go back to your 1st house, stay you as with yourself as an individual, because you give yourself away so much that very often you attract very narcissistic people, or people get just very used that you're doing everything for them. It's like you're self-sacrificing your whole being for someone else, and your whole life is your partner, and this becoming too intense for them or for you. So my recommendation is to spend time by yourself, to find your own hobbies, your own things, and be this wonderful support of your partner, but don't let it like run your life, and stay with you. Like your partner is not an attachment of you, an extension of you. They are a separate person, and once you see it like that, your relationships are going to be more successful. Okay, so that's my recommendation for you, people who have stellium in Libra or 7th house. Now we're going to the 8th house, and obviously 8th house is other people's money. It rules debts, it rules joint ventures, sexuality. So you're either very obsessed with your sexuality, right? Or you're avoiding it at all costs. You feel uncomfortable with it. You're not sure what to do with it. It's like you're depending on other people's money. In some cases, like if there's good planets, you're going to be supported by other people financially a lot. There will be some unexpected money. You're the person who gets money from the government. You have parents that gives you money, or you marry someone rich that's kind of supporting you. But this can make you overly dependent on other people's money. So go to your 2nd house, where you're making money through your own self-worth and valuing yourself, okay? If it's too much on someone else, because this is breaking up stuff. Trust that you can do it yourself. Also, there is a big trend of cycles, because the 8th house rules cycles. So there might be a lot of repetitive situations happening until you decide it's been enough. Have you learned your lesson? If you did, it doesn't need to happen again. But this is really the house of the occult, right? So a lot of people with a lot of planets in the 8th house are very interested in tarot, astrology, healing, shamans, right? These are people that really diving deep. But when you have a stellium there, you might get obsessed with it and not letting it go and not letting things flow naturally, right? Always getting your cards to see what's happening next, always wanting to know the answers, trying to be in control. And that's why this house is ruled by Scorpio, right? So if you have a stellium in Scorpio, it's really kind of outing itself in a similar way. So try not to control the outcome in your life. like learn the occult, but also let things flow naturally, okay? You cannot always know the answers before they come. You gotta trust the divine in some ways as well. And also it is about not being in the other side of the world all the time, but go to Taurus, like the earthy sign, right? We are also here to be earthy, right? We also here to do earthly stuff, and not only dive into like flying to different dimensions. And this is also a house where addictions can happen, okay? Because it's the house that goes in the depth and then goes up. So you might get addicted to alcohol or drugs, and you will recover, and then you can teach other people, right? Because a healer is very often not born in this perfect family, this perfect situation. You're learning through your own cycles, right? 8th house cycles. You're learning that you have your own life force and lessons, and you can learn. And that's why Scorpio is an intense sign. It's like, I've been there, done that. I've been there, done that. I can help you, you know? So this is something that 8th house stellium can do. Can also give you debts, okay? So, and it's also problems with lending money to people. So be careful with who you sign contracts or lend money to, especially when there's Chiron involved, or Pluto or Saturn. This is not the best placement to have joint contracts or joint bank accounts, okay? Just stay with you with your own bank account and the other person as well, you know, because it rules the court cases, all these kind of things, okay? So a lot of people with a lot of 8th house things, especially when it's in Libra, some of your good lawyers or have to deal with some court situations a lot of times, okay? So these are some examples. See how this applies to your life. And I'm ready to go to the next house, the 9th house, which also is ruled by Sagittarius. So people with a lot of planets in the 9th house, they might act as a Sagittarius. And I'm one of these people. I have 3 planets in the 9th house, and even though it's not a stellium, I might sometimes act like a Sagittarius because of the planets that are over there. So people with a stellium in the 9th house are like the digital nomads. These are the people that like travel, and people are like, hello, are you gonna stay in one place, you know? So there might be an obsession with too much traveling. There might be an obsession with knowing the truth of the truth of the truth, okay? So Sagittarius is the teacher, and Sagittarius learns by going to different places and sharing their knowledge. Also, there is a tendency to know everything better than other people and not allowing other people to present their opinion. So this is where you should go to the 3rd house, where there's Gemini, who can see different side of the situation, right? People with a 9th house stellium can live in a different dimension, a little bit like the 8th house. Like, hey, I'm in my own bubble and I'm gonna just escape from everything else, and I'm gonna be in my own universe, right? So some of you could be like extremely religious, going into religion, into the new age stuff, and not coming back to, you know, reality or learning about factual information. You can just rely on your optimism, your intuition, without reading anything scientific. So this is really the 9th house. It's also, yeah, it's kind of a know-it-all. Or you're gonna be very shy. Like, you do have this amazing intuition, but then you're too afraid to show it to the world, right? These are people that are living abroad, starting companies abroad. Like, just be aware that you're not overly focused on like the universal problems, because this is about the universe, bigger stuff, knowing the truth about the universe, the situation. That's why a lot of 9th house stellium people are so interested in yoga, religion, different religions. It's very often people that are interested in like Buddhism, and then they read the Bible, and then they're doing different things to get a conclusion. And you know, just be aware that you're not oversharing with other people that are not so interested in that. Like everybody has their own life path. So this is with the 9th house, but you can do really beautiful things with the 9th house stellium. You could be a great esoteric expert. You probably want to learn so many things that sometimes you're not really sure where to focus on. So, you know, focus on like a broader spectrum. For example, you do this and that and that. You're probably not a person who sticks to one job, or at least you need a lot of excitement. Otherwise, you're going to get bored. So yeah, that's what I recommend for you, Sagittarius stellium in 9th house. And a lot of you are also teachers. So yeah. And then you can share everything you've read, okay? And then we have the 10th house, which, okay, this is my dishwasher machine beeping. 10th house, right, is ruled by Capricorn. So this is for people who have stellium in Capricorn. And then we have a lot of alarming things happening outside. So yeah, pay attention. So if you have a stellium in the 10th house, we have typical workaholics, people who can't seem to stop working, who always, the typical overachievers, wanting to really achieve something, cannot let it rest, cannot give it space, and that's why it's frustrating and it doesn't happen, right? Like if you have a lot of positive planets here, you can be overly optimistic. But it could also be that, you know, you work, and there's no, like, bosses don't really appreciate you. You're not really getting all the recognition that you wished you would have. You need to work so hard to get even somewhere. So go back to the 4th house, rest, stay at home, spend time with your family, and find some balance in either work, right, and your family, because you are the person that might stay away a long time and then it ends in a divorce because people are like, hello, I married you, but you just vanished into your work, okay? So you're getting an obsession about achieving a lot of things, and you will very often do it because you have all the energy to do it, or you might feel so uncomfortable and so, it feels so heavy to do a certain job that you will never chase your dreams. So it can act in two ways, right? So check if it's in what sign your 10th house is in, right? Check the other houses I'm discussing that rule the certain signs, okay? And then you can kind of make a puzzle what you can do about it. So yeah, if you have Virgo, for example, in the 10th house, you can be very perfectionistic. You want to do it so well that you're not really achieving anything. So yeah, it's really fun. I really like astrology, where you can puzzle and really find learning a lot about yourself. So it's all about balance. So look at the opposite sign, what you can do in order to give things space, right? If you keep pushing, push, there's no space for anything to happen, right? It's the typical full glass cannot have more water in it. So you need to empty the glass, and also with your energy, because you might get a burnout, right? And this is also where failures happen, like public failures, or it's two. So find your balance in that, and you're gonna be very successful, and you can do anything you put your mind into. But yeah, focus on this balance and work life, and you're gonna do great. So I'm going to move on to the next house, the 11th house, which is ruled by Aquarius. So, you know, when we think about Aquarius, we see people that want to be free, people that really like to be around other people, but at the same time are detached. So it's really funny. This is a person that's always out there meeting a lot of people, but you could also just rely on other people, right? Rely on just your friends or your network to do things for you. So here's the opposite sign in the 5th house that says, hey, what are your unique qualities? If you're overly relying on your network to give you a job or to really give you a life, you should go back to your own unique qualities. So you're not losing yourself in your friend's life, or you know, a lot of you, if you have Venus there as well, might find a partner in your friend group and you're both always with friends, but then you know your private life is all together, your friends getting involved in whatever is happening in your relationship. You know, you guys are really great networkers, or you're kind of avoiding any communities in general because it feels too heavy. It feels like people won't accept me, I'm different. So it's like Aquarius can also be the sign that feels a bit like an alien, like they feel different, they have different ideas that people don't really get. So it goes one extreme to another, right? If you have 11th house in Sagittarius, you might be way more outgoing than when it's in your in Virgo, for example. Or so yeah, be careful you're not alienating yourself or giving yourself away to your friends and making it all about them. So make sure to choose a job or a life that can help you, and maybe you could be someone who is a networker, right? So who connects people together, like a mediator, or like being in working for a recruitment agency or stuff like that. So you can actually enhance these skills and really work with the planets that you have. Okay, so that's my recommendation for you. And then we go into the last house, the house of Pisces, and the 12th house. And this is where the whole cake is ending, right? The whole cycle is ending. In the 12th house, we can say expect the unexpected. This is where you need to let go of control. You cannot, you know, this is where you merge with the divine. So if you want to like build, or being earthy is very difficult for these people. They often don't see themselves as a human. You know, they are like, they feel like they're kind of a spirit. So these people are very often very spiritual. They can read the room. They are like they feel like they're part of the collective, right? So they're really good tarot readers. They're very good shamans, but they need to sometimes be by themselves, you know? But either they're by themselves all the time, right? Or they avoid being by themselves. So you gotta have to find a balance between routine. So you go to your opposite sign to learn from that. So go to your work, have a routine, because otherwise you might lose yourself in your own isolation, right? You might feel like you're not, like you feel so much part of the world that you feel the suffering, and this is how you're punishing yourself. So a lot of 12th house people have problems with their diet because they don't really see themselves as an earthy body, right? Like the 6th house. So they are eating bad, not taking care of themselves, right? So this is where you get the healers that are overweight, or they're trying to protect themselves from the outer world. These people might feel very lost, right? Traveling the world, not knowing where to go, what to do, you know? And if you have a sun and the moon over there, it's like also a disconnection from the parents, which is alienating you even further. So, you know, the best thing you can do, these people are insanely talented channelers. If you have Mercury there, you can channel information. If you have Neptune, you can really become, you know, this is the placement of monks, placement of people that are in their own world and really learning about merging with God, enlightenment, right? To let life guide you. So there is no really sense of, like, even if you have an earth sign in the 12th house, you still feel ungrounded. So you can feel earthy when you're by yourself. You feel grounded then, right? You want to be stable, but you find it hard to find a solid ground. So this is a placement for very old souls, okay? It's very challenging. There's a lot of open enemies coming in, a lot of closing down karma from many lifetimes. So you cannot avoid working on your karma. You kind of have to. Meditation is the ultimate solution. You might be someone with extreme dreams. astral travelers, people who astral travel, because you're not really attached to your body that much. So yeah, you're great sages, like you're really wise. You can get information from the stars, you can get it down to earth. You could be like a shaman, right? If you have Scorpio, especially people with Scorpio, or Cancer is more like a psychic. These people can read people. They can merge, because you're merging with another person. Because imagine if you don't have a body and you feel one with everyone, you can read anything and anyone, right? With the stellium there. So yeah, don't get obsessed with, because stelliums create obsessions by being too much alone or always trying to control. You gotta let go, but also not only meditating and disconnecting from the world, right? So yeah, I hope this was helpful, and you've learned a lot from this video. So you checked your stellium sign and also your house, and you can puzzle a little bit how this applies to your life. I think it's certainly super interesting. You know, I have a stellium also in my second house, not a stellium, but they're very close to each other, so it gives the energy of, you know, possessions and money and these kind of things. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments what you think. I also do private readings, so you can book a private reading with me if you want to know how this applies further in your own chart. Subscribe to my channel, and I really hope to see you next time. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Bye bye.